Hey guys, Will here. So, I've watched Star Wars The Force Awakens twice now. The first time just to experience it and I really wanted to watch it. The second time around was to kind of focus more on things I may have missed. And there is a lot I noticed that I did miss and that I really thought was cool the second time around. So let's get started. Number 1 is the mouse droid. You know, that little car that kind of just is in the background of every Star Wars movie, just kind of doing stuff. Well, when you first see the Superstar Destroyer, Poe looks around like in awe of the vessel. Now, when we were too busy kind of like admiring everything, all the familiar structures and costumes and everything, you kind of hear a sound and then you see him kind of in the background, just zipping in the background, so that was pretty cool. Number 2 is Rey's doll. Now, her home, the AT-AT, in the background of the shelf, you kind of see a stuffed doll that has orange and white clothes, which resembles a lot to a rebel pilot. Now, it could mean any number of things, but I'm guessing maybe someone found a rebel pilot uniform after the huge battle, and they just kind of made a doll, or maybe she made the doll, and she just kind of had it there. And a side note, she also does wear visor goggles of an old stormtrooper, so yeah, Rey's basically a walking set of Easter eggs, which is not a bad thing. Number 4, Rey's rebel helmet. Now this is one of the most obvious ones. She kind of sits there right next to her. She has the rebel pilot, she puts it on. But one thing that is a little bit harder to notice, I didn't translate this myself, but someone took the writing on the helmet, the alien writing, they translated it, and it actually spells out Rey. Not R-E-Y, but it's like R-H-A-Y, which is the name of a former pilot, so, you know, that's really cool. I did enjoy reading that. Number 5, the combat remote. Now, when Finn first boards the Millennium Falcon, he looks at it really intrigued, like, what is this? And then he just kind of tosses it aside like trash, which I thought was cool, something that was really kind of important to the training of Luke, and he just kind of like, meh, so well. Number 6, it's got a bad motivator. What's wrong with the Millennium Falcon? The motivator's busted. So of course, this is not the first time we've dealt with a bad motivator. Now, if you remember the R5-D4, that little other version of R2-D2 in episode 4, the little red bot that kind of busted down, Uncle Owen first picked him out and it turned out he had a bad motivator, so that's kind of what ended up making them choose R2-D2 instead. So, you know, that's a pretty cool throwback, guys. Alright, number 7. Finn leans on a familiar looking table in the Millennium Falcon, and the game springs to life. And Chewbacca even gets excited about it too, because if you remember in episode 4, Chewbacca really loved that game, and like Han Solo said, if you're gonna play against a Wookiee, you know, just let him win. It was one of those small things in the originals that are just there, but I really kind of found them funny and I really loved them, just little claymation creatures beating each other up. So, number 8, maybe we should use the clones. When it's discovered that Finn has turned against the First Order to help Poe Dameron escape, Kylo Ren tells General Hux that maybe we should try a clone army to kind of take over everything and stop him. And that's of course just a kind of a one-liner shout out to the Clone Wars that they did happen. Number 9, I've got a bad feeling about this. So, of course, Han Solo is the lucky one to rattle off the second most famous line in Star Wars history. You know? He says the line when the Wraithars get loose in the freighter. You know, those big creatures that carried off Finn to his death almost. So yeah, the first one. And of course, the line is said at least once in every Star Wars movie. Also in TV games and video games and other things. Number 10. The Dark Side Initiation. So Kylo Ren is obviously obsessed with Darth Vader, with following in his footsteps and finishing what he started. Well, it looks like that goes back to the first time he turned to the dark side. As Rey's vision revealed, Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren went to Luke Skywalker's Jedi training ground and pretty much slaughtered everyone there. And they zoomed out the shot and it looks like at least there's a ton of bodies, like at least 60, 70 of them that were just kind of training. So, you know, yeah, it's a pretty bad deal. So Darth Vader, when first kind of trying to take on the role of the dark side, he did go to the Jedi Temple and killed a whole bunch of kids as you remember. So it's a kind of a throwback to what Darth Vader did. Now, whether he needed to do it or not, I really don't think he did, but you know, he's really obsessed with Darth Vader and everything he did, so you know, why not do that kind of side of him too. And number 11, a red R5 unit. So speaking of the R5 unit, it looks like they found its motivation as an astromech that looks especially like the R5-D4 from A New Hope. And it's sitting back in one of the Resistance X-Wings gearing up for the final battle. And number 12, familiar faces. So we got a lot of familiar faces in here. Probably the one you all noticed the most was C-3PO. As great and as useless as ever, just kind of in the way of Han and Leia there. Now we knew they were going to come out there. So these two are General Ackbar and Noom. And they're in the war room, and you see them flying the pilots attacking the big Death Star planet. So you know, that's pretty cool. So number 13, Greg Gunberg, which is actually a friend of J.J. Abrams, and in pretty much every movie he does play a character in this called Snap Wexley. And it is confirmed by Lucasfilm that this is in fact a grown-up Temmin Wexley, the youngest and most reluctant hero of Star Wars Aftermath, which is a novel that kicked off the journey to The Force Awakens, pretty much. So, in the first direct crossover between the novels and the film, showing how tightly bound the canon across all mediums now is wound, as you can tell. So of course, Grunberg is in the movie kind of an Easter egg of its own, and like I said, J.J. Abrams puts him in everything, so it's a good deal for him. So that's pretty much it for now. Those are all the Easter eggs I noticed and the ones I was able to gather up. If I missed anything, you could let me know. I'd be interested in reading them and kind of knowing more about them so I could go watch the movie again and see if I could catch them. But, you know what? Yeah.